Hey everyone, what's up? Today we're diving into something super cool, the moon. So, fun fact, the last time humans set foot on the moon was way back on December 11th, 1972. Yeah, that was over 50 years ago. Crazy, right? Why do we just stop going? Some people say, oh, there's nothing left to study. It's a waste of money. Let's focus on Mars instead. Sound kind of reasonable at first. But honestly, the moon is way more mysterious than most people think. Today, I'm going to show you some wild facts about the moon, stuff you probably never heard before. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you're going to look at the moon with totally different eyes. Think about it. If humans really want to move to Mars one day, shouldn't we first figure out how to live on the moon? It's way closer to Earth. If something goes wrong, at least we're not stuck millions of miles away. I mean, if we can't even build a base and survive on the moon, how are we supposed to live on Mars? Let's be real, if we haven't even conquered the moon yet, talking about moving to Mars is just science fiction. All right, next up, let's talk about some of the crazy stuff about the moon. So, when it comes to where the moon actually came from, there are four main theories. First, the fission theory. It says that way back in the early days of the solar system, the Earth was spinning super fast, like one full spin every 4 hours fast. And because it was still a big ball of molten rock, some material basically got flung off. That material eventually came together and formed the moon. Then there's the capture theory. According to this one, the moon was just a little planet, floating around the sun like all the others. One day it passed close to Earth, and Earth's gravity was like, hey, you're mine now, and pulled it into orbit. Third, we have the co-formation theory. This idea says Earth and the moon formed at the same time, from the same cloud of dust and gas around the sun. They were two separate planets at first, but because Earth was bigger, it ended up grabbing the moon into orbit. And finally, the giant impact theory. This one says that not long after Earth formed, another planet about the size of Mars slammed into it. The crash was so intense, it shattered part of the Earth. The debris from that impact started orbiting around us, and eventually all those pieces came together and became the moon. So yeah, these are the four big ideas about the moon's origin. Which one do you think makes the most sense? Right now, scientists mostly believe the giant impact theory is the most likely one. But here's the weird part. Even today, we haven't found clear evidence of a massive collision. Not on Earth, and not on the moon either. So why do they still think a giant impact happened? It's because of the rocks the Apollo missions brought back. When scientists analyzed them, they found that the oxygen isotopes in moon rocks are almost exactly the same as the ones in Earth's mantle. That means the moon probably came from the Earth somehow. Either it split off, or it formed from a huge smash-up. Also, the moon has a lower density than Earth, and evidence shows that early on, the whole moon was basically melted. When you put all that together, the giant impact theory just makes the most sense. You probably know that the moon always shows the same face to Earth. One side always faces us, while the other side stays hidden. The moon orbits around Earth, and it also spins on its own axis. But here's the weird part. Its rotation and orbit take exactly the same amount of time, about 27.3 days. Think about that for a second. Earth spins once every 24 hours, but it takes a whole year to orbit the sun. Those times are totally different. But for the moon, it's a perfect match, spin and orbit, same time. Kind of creepy, right? It's like someone is just standing there, staring at you, never turning their head. And if you really think about it, is the moon watching Earth? Or is it spying on us? Have you ever noticed something super weird during a solar eclipse? The moon's shadow looks exactly the same size as the sun. Like perfectly the same. Why is that? Well, it's because the moon's diameter and its distance from Earth just happen to match the sun's size and distance ratio. In simple terms, the moon is like a tiny copy of the Earth-Sun setup. If the moon were a little smaller, or a little closer, or a little farther away, it wouldn't line up perfectly. It had to be just right. The perfect size, the perfect spot. Almost too perfect. When it comes to satellites, the moon is huge. Like, way bigger than you'd expect. In fact, it's the fifth largest moon in the whole solar system. The biggest moon out there is Ganymede, orbiting Jupiter. Ganymede's diameter is about 1/27th of Jupiter's. Second biggest? Titan, Saturn's moon. Its diameter is about 1/24th of Saturn's. Now check this out. The moon's diameter is about 1/4 of Earth's. That's massive for a satellite. Honestly, compared to its planet, the moon is just oversized. It's almost like it should have been a planet itself. You've probably seen photos of the moon, right? It's covered in craters. Big ones, small ones. It looks like it's been through a battlefield. But here's the crazy part. No matter how big the crater is, they're all about the same depth, around 6 kilometers. Think about that for a second. Normally, a bigger impact should make a deeper hole, and a smaller impact should make a shallower one. That's how it works here on Earth. On Earth, the size of a crater usually matches how deep it is. Bigger rock, deeper hole. Makes total sense. But on the moon, it's weird. Huge craters, tiny craters. Pretty much all the same depth. And 6 kilometers honestly feels kind of shallow. Get this. Some craters on the moon are massive. Like 1,300 kilometers across. Scientists think a rock about 60 kilometers wide slammed into it. If something like that hit Earth, it would leave a hole over 100 kilometers deep. But on the moon, still just 6 kilometers. It's almost like the moon has a super tough shell. Like maybe 6 kilometers thick. No matter how hard something hits it, it can't break through past that layer. Pretty wild, right? When the Apollo missions went to the moon, they found something strange. The moon's surface is incredibly dense. But when they calculated the average density of the moon, it turned out to be pretty low. So that means the inside of the moon must be very light. During the Apollo missions, they also did something called the Moonquake experiment. They placed a seismograph on the surface of the moon. After 8 years and 10 months of monitoring, they discovered the moon actually has its own kind of earthquakes called moonquakes. Over that time, there were 12,558 moonquakes, averaging about 4 a day. The biggest one was only a 4.0 on the Richter scale, pretty small. When scientists analyzed the seismic waves, they were shocked. The moonquakes were nothing like Earth's earthquakes. If you've ever felt an earthquake on Earth, you know that the shaking starts and peaks quickly, and then it fades away within a couple of minutes. But moonquakes? They take about 10 minutes to reach their peak. Even crazier, after they peak, the shaking slowly fades over the next few hours. So when a moonquake happens, it could last for several hours. And the seismic waves showed something called hydraulic damping, which suggests there's water inside the moon. Think about it. Imagine a ball filled with water. If you shake it, the motion keeps going for a long time. Later, scientists studied more moon rock samples and found something else odd. The moon's rocks have an unusually high amount of titanium. Based on the seismic data and rock analysis, scientists came up with an interesting conclusion. The moon's crust is about 5 kilometers thick, then there's a 20-kilometer thick metal layer, mostly made of titanium. Titanium is rare on Earth, but it's much more common on the moon. Below that, it's basically hollow, with just a little bit of water, if any. So, the moon is like a hollow metal ball. This doesn't really follow the natural laws of how celestial bodies are formed. Normally, the center of a planet or moon is denser, and the outer layers are less dense because gravity compresses the material. But the moon is the opposite. Its outer shell is dense, and the inside is hollow. It just doesn't look like something that would form naturally. To sum it up, the moon is this huge, lightweight, hollow, titanium-covered object full of craters, hanging up there in space above Earth, always facing us. Doesn't that start to sound a little unsettling? Next, let's dive into an even more mysterious phenomenon. Ancient texts from all over the world mention a great flood. In China, there's the story of Emperor Yu controlling the floodwaters, And in the West, the tale of Noah's Arkansas. The thing is, these floods are said to have occurred around the same time. But before the flood, there are no records of the moon in any paintings or writings. Back then, the only things people noted in the night sky were the stars, and the brightest one was Venus. It's only after the flood that the moon shows up in the records. The Bible mentions that the flood came from the sky. Imagine the moon suddenly appearing, that huge moon coming close to Earth. Its massive gravity would definitely cause huge ocean tides, potentially flooding entire continents. In fact, modern ocean tides are caused by the moon, though not on such a huge scale. So, it's very possible the moon was the cause of the Great Flood. Now, a lot of astronomers believe that the moon could actually be something that came from another planet, kind of like a spaceship made of titanium. This spaceship could have been designed to support alien life. When it got to Earth, it entered orbit, facing Earth, and just floating there. On its way here, it took a lot of meteorite hits, which explains all the craters on the surface. But why did it come to Earth? Why is it facing Earth? We don't really know. Some people think it might have had a purpose when it first arrived, and after completing whatever mission it had, it was abandoned here. There are even theories that say aliens might actually be living inside the moon right now. It's a strange possibility, right? According to some astronomers, the whole situation is a little unscientific. They argue that the moon's existence doesn't quite fit with what we know about natural celestial bodies.